shall we start by introducing ourselves, perhaps?
I think so.
That would be a good idea. We'll go around, start with you, Jan. Who are you? What are you building?
All right. So my name's Jan, and I'm the fourth nationality here. I'm from Czech Republic, actually. Yeah. Not born in Prague, born in a small city close to Slovakian border. And I went through loads of different jobs, went through M&A, private equity, venture capital, and then got into startups. Was in one e-commerce startup in Prague, and now we are building an AI native agency for anything that touches public money, being in grants, tenders, R&D tax credits, whatever that is.
Great. My name is Iskra Tanga. Originally, I'm from Serbia. Have been living here in Prague for almost 10 years, I believe, quite long time. My path has been crossed in many different cities. So I lived in more than 10 cities, 6 different countries. So my background is international, mainly sales and coaching people around sales. So I'm founder of Closer Flow Method nowadays, ex-general manager of Wonderful AI, Israeli startup, which also opened its entity here in Czech Republic recently. And yeah, thank you for having me here. Excited about the AI topic.
All right, nice to meet you. So I'm Dean. I'm originally Israeli, which is interesting. And my path was I worked at aerospace defense, as most Israeli people. We go to the army, but my journey there was I was like an engineer, so it was like an IT job, developing really cool stuff when you're very young. Then I moved to machine learning and data science, and actually moved to Prague. It's a beautiful city, and I've been doing data science and AI engineering most of my career since. Recently been working in energy startups, renewable energy and so on. But I'm building something for myself. So I've been trying to hire people in many of my roles, and I've also been trying to get jobs, trying to get the next ones. And so what I'm building is Bloom. Bloom is a startup that is trying to help companies find talent that usually you cannot find in databases, and help people looking for jobs find jobs that LinkedIn doesn't find them. Mm-hmm. That's about me.
Great. I'll finish off here. So I'm Simon. I'm one half of Henry and Simon, and we're doing these podcasts now for quite a number of years. My full-time role, if you like, is in commercializing or business development for startups and scale-ups. I was touching on the AI space about 20 years ago with the machine learning aspect around social media analytics. So it had an early taste of that, but of course things have changed so remarkably in the last 5 years. Presently I'm with Talent Pilot. It's actually doing something similar to Bloom, but with a different focus on the enterprise directly. So really over the last 3 years I've been doing AI projects, either RPA that was converting and becoming more agentic, or now indeed an AI first recruitment platform, which is Talent Pilot. So I'm going to sort of be keeping this conversation flowing, hopefully through the next hour or so. And I was really interested to know from perhaps you, Jan, to start with, what has the era of AI actually meant to you in terms of what you're able to create more quickly that has real business value for you? And are you seeing the value of that in your bank yet, or is it taking time?
Good question. I think what we are seeing right now is that some of the tools we've been using in the past, we've been paying for, now we can build in-house. I'm not saying that you should build all the stuff in-house, because sometimes, the whole decision should be about, should we buy or build? Because sometimes the implicit costs of people doing this stuff and taking the data in and actually implementing it into the company is sometimes more expensive than actually buying something off the shelf. But nowadays, we are seeing that impact, especially with businesses that weren't touched by any tech before. Mm-hmm. So if you go into a non-tech business nowadays, which I think is now becoming a bigger category, I'd say, now we can really see the tech and AI impact there, because before AI, it wasn't actually doable. to do anything in those, I like to call them boring businesses. Those are like old businesses, service businesses, whatever that touches not the usual B2B SaaS route. And then you can think about the processes and think about what is actually happening in the company, what people did before, and trying to find the tasks that are mundane, that are boring, and then enhance the people with it. So basically taking out the mundane task, putting AI into that, and leaving the time for people to actually do the stuff that is important at work.
And with the initiative you have with Subway, you're basically taking what is a fairly dull process of completing grants for European Union money, for example. And like, are you seeing that? What my concern in this area is that it's just creating a lot of noise, a lot of slop in a way, which just reduces in, say, 10x more applications, and perhaps the great stuff gets lost in that. What do you think is really happening there? What are the safety rails or guardrails for that?
That's a good question. And I think like what is happening in the market are two things. With AI, you can do in our business, if I can talk about a bit about our business, quite a few companies will do the applications, whatever it is, by themselves with AI, because now it looks like you just create a prompt and the application is there. But what we are doing is not this. We are taking the service industry that was here before. So basically an agency that helped companies get public funding, R&D tax credits, or work with public tenders, and still keeping the people in the loop, still keeping the human in the loop element there. So we are enhancing the people, but still keeping the experts in the company. So basically taking the best of both worlds, meaning that even though we use AI, we are not producing the slop because there's still people looking at it, still experts going through it. And therefore, with all of this, the people now can focus more on what's important in the service industry, which is the relationships, which is the relationship building, sales. And yeah, I'd say like the AI slop is probably out there everywhere because now the access to vibe coding or whatever is for everybody. And I think sometimes the AI slop is not necessarily bad. If you want to test something out quickly, it's good you can now push it as quick as possible.
I've created quite a lot of my own, for sure. Yeah, Dean, there's an interesting metaphor between what Jan is doing and what we're doing in the recruitment space, in that it's easier to apply now and it's easier to make up a story about what you are. How do you think we can best protect against the integrity of the application in his case, or the job application or candidate in our case, so that in some way the company, the grant money is going to the right place and the company is hiring the right person?
Right. I think this really resonates with me because lately there have been so many of those automatic job application services, right? That just say our paradigm, we just blast your resume 500, 1,000 places every day. And that is part of the problem, right? And I think now, of course, you can automate those processes. And we've been trying to think about how do you do this in a way that is responsible, right? Because on one hand, you want to automate workflows for candidates and also for people looking for those candidates, right? You want to automate that, but you have to do it responsibly. You don't want to say, I trust everything the AI says, right? So the way we're building it is we are not letting AI control, but we are letting AI assist, right? So we have built guardrails that basically say, that allow the candidates to be like human in the loop, right? So we're suggesting them, here's the list, and it's not 1,000, it's just 5, 7, 8 that are the best. Pick which one and we'll apply for you. But we don't want to create more noise to companies, right? Because that just adds a lot of the problem in the market.
And from our space, that there's a lot of pushback in that, for example, if we say we can help you find engineers, well, the best engineers aren't necessarily the ones that are easiest to find. Do you think that there's just a set of people out there, is it 10 or 20% who are not hiding but are somehow hidden gems? I saw we were both referring to an initiative that Maiton had built, and you'd commented that, you need to make sure that you can match the two very well. And she was saying that she's finding real gems in there. Do you think that's really what's going to happen, or will that kind of quickly disappear as more and more companies are doing this?
There's actually this company called Vamo, and they're trying to build in the space of finding engineers that are only on GitHub, for example.
Right.
So the way for them to figure out if you are a gem, as you're saying, is looking at your contributions and what are the things that are interesting to you, what kind of projects you're working on, what kind of code you're writing, which is an interesting aspect because not every engineer would have his LinkedIn fully updated, right?
Yeah.
Of course. So I think it depends, right? And there are special skills and special certifications that you might not know about, right? Just by looking at data that's available online. And there must be the human aspect in the loop, right? You must have a call with a person and understand who he is, right? For example, I don't really like the AI interviews that just filter you because you didn't say some word, or those ATS filters that just filter candidates just because.
It's a risk. Iskra, I'm forever looking for metaphors in life. So, if you're looking at the world of recruitment and the world of sales, there's a lot of similarity in that you're trying to find great people. We're trying to find great customers who will obviously have got a lot of noise around them. So in your experience, given that you're now in the world of training these people or managing commercial people, what's really happening now? Are you seeing some of those best salespeople really pulling ahead of the rest? Or is it still a few years ahead before that happens? Like, is there a have and have nots already occurring?
That's actually a great question. From my perspective, what I've noticed on the market as of now, top performers are using AI as a leverage. So they converted from this initial fear and anxiety into leveraging AI and using AI on daily basis. I would say rather as an assistant or an intern rather than a manager or equal teammate, because still AI is like a teenager. They are super excited, fun to work with, lots of energy, but lacking experience, critical thinking, empathy, and those soft skills, which actually make the actual business impact at the end. So I would say the most important thing still remains, in my opinion, which is the mindset. So top performers are investing into staying capable and the most interesting people in the room while playing and adapting and using AI on their daily basis. So I'm big advisor and advocate of using AI as your friend and getting familiar with AI rather than just ignoring it, because this is what I have seen and noticed on the market. The ones who don't perform any action steps are actually the ones to be replaced pretty fast and to be fearful. Even if I think of Nikola Tesla, the founder of electricity, when he was looking for innovation and what kept him alive or awake in the night was not replacing his friends or family members, but actually awakening and solving this darkness within and outside. So that's how he invented electricity. And that's how I see also AI. It's a huge leveraging tool for top performers and for the prepared ones who know how to adapt and to dance with the changes. So I'm super excited about changes in general, and I think it's a natural part of economy and any process. So yeah.
And to lean into that a bit more, where do you see the AI making its most application? So, for example, if you're a $1 million sales guy or a $500,000 sales guy doing very well, and say you're the 100K sales guy wanting to find your way up there, is it going to be just make that $1 million guy earn 2 million and the $100 guy going to keep earning that? Or like, do you think that there be an evening or just a further disparity between the the best and the middle pack, the middle of
That's actually a very, very important point. I would say the differences are decreasing. So an average salesperson nowadays with the right usage of AI tools can become equally as competent as top performer who has more than 20 years of concrete sales experience. So in that regards, yes, it's the space became more competitive and saturated. But on the other hand, as mentioned, I would say AI, like if the human is the one giving inputs, then you have the AI helping perform some repetitive tasks, doing research for accounts, organizational chart on the white space hunting list, and when doing account mapping to understand who is who in the zoo, for example, helping prepare for the meetings, also challenging you through the role plays. But still, the AI will not be conducting the meetings for you. So if the formula is human, AI, and then human back, I would say that's the success formula for salespeople. But the ones who are just using AI as chatbots or as Google to write them some emails with no values, like very, very basic and simple conversations, those people will not survive, and they don't have high chances to become 1 million sales
right.
performers.
So those with mindset and agency may not have been the $1 million salesperson before, but they may become that, or at least
yes.
And that's not happening yet, or it is happening yet, do you think?
It's happening already, yes, I'm seeing it, especially within younger generations, so everything below millennials. Gen Z is still the one being scared and more fearful, but youngsters are more courageous there. That's why I like to mix juniors and seniors, and I believe in this great combo and blending those energies. And that's again how I see AI. I am also using some AI agents, like I build them by myself, and I noticed that they are very needy, again, like teenagers looking for inputs, feed me. So
context.
yes, non-stop context. It's same like from 90s, this Tamagotchi, if you remember. We used to love it a lot. It was hype. So that's how I perceive AI agents. So yes, it's tricky. There is no rules, no formulas yet, and that's I would say we are in the experimentation phase this year. So I would call it a big experiment without any formulas. But that's why the prepared and courageous ones will survive. But yes, I mean it's great to see also average people getting higher chance to perform and to be top performers.
Dean, do you want to chime in there?
Yeah. You've touched a little bit on the younger generation and how they treat AI, right? I think there's a lot of fear actually in the junior candidates and the younger generation, because they see all of those layoffs that's happening lately, and some companies treat this as let's increase our AI spend and hire less people or start laying off people. Do you think this is going to flip back, and so companies would start understanding that they need to have those juniors, so they'll have them as seniors in the future?
2 points. What I'm hearing are 2 points. One, on one side, there are juniors or people who are appreciating certainty, and they would subscribe for the certainty rather than, even though it's not serving them, maybe like signing employment agreements which are not as competitive, or they're just giving them security. So that's for non-hungry juniors, I would say. Junior energy for me and young energy means being courageous, wanting to move the boundaries, borders, and being hungry for the knowledge and the experience. So those are the types of young people that I think they're a great match for this AI world. And on the other side, the leaders of enterprise businesses who are indecisive. So that's the biggest challenge which I have seen. So on one side, juniors looking for certainty and leaders not making decisions. And nowadays, the ones who are not performing any decisions, who are not acting fast enough, again, will have lower chances to survive. They are being skeptical around why to work with smaller firm, give me your references. Then if a bigger company comes, I used to work for Netcracker, Amdocs, those are BSS, OSS technology providers for telcos. They would say, yeah, but you're too expensive, you're too slow. So there would be always excuses not to make decisions. So I would say both sides need to work and need to change in order to make the best out of technology and AI nowadays.
Yeah, I think we'll go more into this later on about what it means for society. That's a whole separate podcast. Let's talk about what it means for the world. Maybe not. Jan, you told me something. Jan and I met actually through AI, would you believe? So there's
Really?
Bordy, the AI VC connected us. And I have to say, I had a few connections where I thought, this is terrible. And then Jan showed up and I thought, okay, he likes coffee, he's an entrepreneur, he's been into, he has his own cafe, for God's sake. That's how much he likes it. But you told me something interesting that made me smile about when you go to sleep at night is when the credits run out. Okay, so when the credits run out in Claude, you go to bed. So you also said now, you followed up by saying, and you can go to bed earlier now because they get more expensive. Okay, so what's going to happen in this area? Because look, if I'm paying, like I say this now, I'm paying less than €1 a day for Claude. I mean, the company spends more, but me personally, and the value I get from that is extraordinary. So there's no way that's going to stay that way. In my view, it's going to go up in price. Or there's another argument that it's going to be so commoditized that to get value will be more difficult. But how do you see it going in terms of being able to create this product, this technology in an effective way? To Dean's point as well, it's getting more expensive. There will be actually times where it's cheaper to hire a human, but we may have lost the skill of the human because we didn't give them the bloody job in the first place. Where do you think, as an investor, as a founder, where that's going in terms of creating and the pricing?
I'll maybe start a bit more broadly because I think like we are in a unique era of testing out things because it was and is still heavily subsidized by big players on the market. So now we can test it, and that's why I told you that you go to sleep once the tokens run out because you are constantly testing new things. But I think once the real spend, the real cost hit us as founders or whomever, then we'll actually think about what we want to build with it, that it provides value. Because sometimes, even myself, I've got myself building something that is still sitting in a repo on GitHub, and I'm not using that. And I build that just for the sake of building something new that I wanted to try. And I actually didn't need that because I didn't think before, do I need it? I was like, okay, it's cheap, I'll build it and I'll see if I need it. But I think we'll be much more thoughtful about where are we spending the resources, and resources now being AI, because I think it will be a bit commoditized in my opinion, and we'll be thinking like nowadays we are thinking, okay, we have this team, these tools, whatever. We are thinking, well, where we will allocate the capacity of the people, and I think the switch will be like where will we allocate the AI in the future?
Tokens.
Yeah, the tokens, because I think like this is what's happening and what will happen once the real cost hit us.
And I'll come to you in a second, but what will that look like? Because now there are cheaper models that you can work with. Are you just staying in that kind of Claude world or Anthropic world because right now it's just the best, and you're taking that subsidized approach? Are you already sort of looking around? I know that Henry certainly mentions cheaper ways to do roughly similar things for certain parts of the job. But what are you doing now to kind of chunk those things to make the costs manageable? Because you're only a young company, you have to manage costs.
Yeah,
are you doing it already?
Of course. Like what happened at the beginning was that we put the best model on every task because it was so cheap. So we were like, okay, let's put the latest Opus, latest GPT on whatever. And now we see that you don't need that actually. They are part of the process and part of the processes that you don't need the biggest and best model, because sometimes it's not even the best one for the job, because for example, the latest models, they do think a lot, but sometimes it's just, okay, read this article or go search on the internet. And I don't want you to think 10 seconds about how you should search for that. I will put a cheaper model to do that because he just goes and search for that. So I think like it's a bit of same with like team topology, because you have senior people, junior people, someone in between, and you allocate their time on different tasks. And I think that that's how I'm starting to think about AI and models, being it the models that we consume through API or through subscription or even local models, like taking an actual look into the processes and seeing where we need the most compute and where we don't need that.
But staying within the same Anthropic family, for
Not
example.
necessarily. I think like
you name some names just where else you might look.
it's Anthropic, and now Codex is on rise, especially for coding. And I think, like, to be blunt, some of the Chinese models, because the cost comparison is huge, like the cost difference is huge. And I mean, we are still in Europe and in the US, and we know all the people that use Claude and ChatGPT. But if you take a look at how LLMs are used globally, like there are huge spikes of Chinese models, I don't know, South Africa or South America. But I think it's coming to Europe and the US as well, because the models are quite good, quite cheap. And I think sometimes staying within the same family of models is not the best choice, because all the models are trained a bit differently and are tailored a bit differently, and they actually can reason together as a team because they have their own, I mean, almost the same training data, but different ways how they train them. So they can then simulate a team, not within one family, but within more providers. And therefore, I think it's more beneficial, since when you are staying in the same family, the models kind of think the same, with some degrees of change.
It's like we grow families by looking outside into the village. Yeah.
So I think like combining the providers together is something that we are actually playing right now with.
What about yourself, Dean, in terms of your building and layering that the approaches on the frontier models and the other models to actually build out efficiently?
Yeah, I think I'll separate it between what I'm using as a builder and what I'm using in production. Because so in production we are using heavily actually the Gemini 2.5 Flash, even the light one, because that's a workhorse, right? So we try to use the LLMs for what they're good at, right? If they need like heavy extraction at scale, very fast, very cheap, sure, I'll use that. But for the tasks that I need intelligence, then I use the state of the art. So I think about the LLMs as intelligence extractor, right? So I use them in the pipeline like this in production. But for my build and my flow, I've moved away from Claude Code because I feel like it's like a slot machine, right?
Sometimes,
and people say that you see that it thinks for you, it tells you how many tokens you've spent, and it's colorful and things are moving. But eventually it made me create so many features because it's like a dopamine cycle, right? It's so easy to build with Claude, and they build it like that. So again, I built many features that users don't want, and I didn't even want, right? But I still made them because it's so easy and cheap, and you get results like nothing. So my flow now is Codex, and I heavily use the browser use tool that it has to do proper QA for my apps. So basically Codex is building and testing end-to-end as a user. So that's really powerful for me.
Yeah, Codex is great for this. But what I saw in Codex after switching a bit from Claude Code is that actually like the scales and the agentic flows are still better in Claude Code. I don't know if you ever encountered that.
Yeah, I think the ecosystem is a little bit better in Claude because that's what started it all, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I do like the analogy of like the intelligence, and you are picking the models for that task. And I think that that's how we should work, and how we should think about where to put AI and how to put it there, because then you can also manage the cost. Like that at the end, if you just put all the models together where they are the strongest ones, then the cost at the end is not that high. But if you use the latest state-of-the-art model for all the stuff, it's getting expensive.
and slow.
Yeah, and slow, exactly.
And I love the Dean's analogy on the slot machine, because that's also what I'm sensing. I feel like AI is becoming addiction, and there is gamification through I would say non-regulated pricing as well, because the pricings are not always transparent in all of these. So first they make you addicted, and then you get excited about it. So there is really lots of topics to be discovered on that regard, in that regards. But that's why I keep mentioning experience as well, and having the seniority and cold head included also, because it's not just a playground for teenagers or young people to do experiments, but we really want to see where it creates value, where is the value, and how to translate it into tangible business outcomes. Because if we are talking about intelligence, as you mentioned, it became a commodity. The humans are premium, connections, relationships, empathy, those types of things, and of course, tangible business outcomes. So if you come and sit with the CEO, I would say AI topic is C-level discussion for any enterprise company. So it should always go top-bottom. First, we should understand what are their goals, and then based on those business goals, we should create whatever works the best.
I would add to that possibly that not just what the organization's goals are, but the readiness of the team, the company, the culture.
Absolutely.
That sort of we talk about as the AI state of union. Not necessarily like their readiness, but are they supporting this? Are they young people who are worried about their jobs legitimately, etc.? What's the training levels, whatever. I wanted a side story. We use Victor. In Talent Pilot, so it's in Slack, and it's I have to say the onboarding was incredibly quick. I'm not surprised that they raised their 70 million round, in that it can expand very, very quickly. But it brings up some very interesting organizational challenges, because sometimes Tom and myself will be talking about how to use Victor, and he might say, let's not use Victor for that, that's it's too expensive, it's going to take too long, just ask Claude or something like that. But there was one interesting thing that happened where Victor asked for an update on a channel, and one of the teams said, stop doing that, we don't want to. And I felt very much supporting Victor in that situation. But Victor was doing the right thing. It was asking for an update. Someone should have responded, and they didn't. And this will become a much more common thing where, I'm now siding with the AI, and I have to say it. Otherwise, you're actually doing what's not optimal for the company. And of course, that was my opinion, and my opinion has a certain amount of value, maybe not a lot. But where do you see that evolving? That sort of because it's becoming more. Jason Lemkin, I'm sure you've come across Jason Lemkin on podcasting with Harry Stebbings and Rory O'Driscoll. He's talking about how the Saster brand had 20 people working that. Now they have 3 and 15 agents. They even have an agent per chair, apparently. But their marketing agent is very successful, and they're hiring someone who would be reporting to the agent. Okay, this is really happening. Now, some of this is LinkedIn clickbait, but some of it's real. But where do you see this going, Iskra? Maybe with you, in terms of how far will the AI go? In terms of some of the AI will act more like a senior, some will be a bit more like a teenager. Where do you think it might end up in the next 12 months, 24 months? How do you feel?
Hard to predict. I'm not a big fan of speculations. I always prefer to keep it on the optimistic side. But as mentioned, what I have seen on the market, the biggest challenge is AI adoption. So in that space, I see lots of Accenture, smaller or bigger system integrators and providers or consultancy firms being of a great help for big enterprises. So I would always focus on localizing the AI adoption, so helping and sitting with people, helping them build the best practices in order to see the results. Because if you cannot measure it, it doesn't exist. And again, if it does not bring unleashing new revenue streams or cutting costs, which is from 0 to 100, but unleashing new revenue streams can be much bigger multiplication. In that regards, I would say those would be just trials and experiments. So in that regards, AI adoption is the biggest challenge which I'm seeing on the market. Again, it's related to the mindset of managers, their reluctancy to do any changes. I would say the biggest competitor of AI is are not maybe other companies, but actually doing nothing. Same like for Netflix, their biggest competitor is sleep, not other platforms. So that's how I see AI as well. And again, I'm bringing it back. Maybe that's my personal view. I have holistic approach in everything, both business and privately, but I really want to keep it on the human level. So now we are in dial-in internet era of AI. So it's just the beginning. How it's gonna look like and what the change will bring, I don't think it's gonna come overnight. That's why I prefer to tell people to perform actions and learn tools like on daily basis to be knowledgeable and skilled, but not to be scared and worried in this like hysterical, hyped way as we are seeing and witnessing these days.
Actually, I want to say that I absolutely believe in the soft skills that humans have that AI don't have, right? So when it comes to building a company, I think organizations might be a little bit flatter, right? Mm-hmm. Because the reporting layers and maybe the middle managers and so on could be offloaded to those thinking machines that we can create. But ultimately, it's all about having the person taking the critical mindset of what you get from the AI and challenging it enough. And you can only do that if you have the expertise, right? So I find it myself when I'm building with AI, with agents and so on, you always have to be critical. So maybe organizations will become flatter and some positions will change, but there must be the human touch and the people who are experts in knowing how to challenge the AI back. So there's economical value to the company.
Yeah, clients don't buy algorithms, they buy trust and the value, of course.
So you're not seeing Armageddon, you're seeing more of an Eden kind of scenario, a world of plenty, or like what's, because you can make an argument for both even now, and the dial-up analogy is spot on, but you could make an argument that wealth is going to coalesce up even more in the top 1% than it is right now, that we're going to go back to prehistoric time, the Middle Ages, where basically there's a tiny amount of people who have all the money and the rest of us are serfs. Probably serfs with Netflix, by the way, and choosing to sleep or watch Netflix. But where do you see it ending up? And I'm not going to hold you to it. I don't be chasing you around seeing if you're right or wrong, but where do you think it's going to end up?
It's all speculations, right? So Sam Altman actually said quite recently that he was thinking that the effect on the job market would be bigger, and he admits to be wrong. And Dario from Anthropic said the same. So I feel like even the CEOs of those big labs they don't see the big shift as they thought would happen, and I'm quite optimistic about that. Because an AI is an enabler, and not a replacer. And I feel like even if jobs would be replaced, there's going to be way more opportunities in the market, right? And all of those businesses that are underserved at the moment, right, could be AI enabled and technology enabled, and so it's going to be more equal, rather than just everyone loses their jobs and we do nothing and we go back to our Netflix and that's it.
Well, I think the whole system requires that there is a middle class to actually pay for the things that the AI is selling. But
exactly.
There is you need to have people that's earning some money. Although, it could go either way in my view, but we'll see. And I would argue that a lot of the job losses, AI is responsible. But it's because they're spending so much money on AI. So that's the reason. It's not that the AI has become so super productive, and hence, in some cases, it is to do with AI simply flatly replacing people. But I think a lot of it is, if Facebook need to invest X billion in data centers, they will just get rid of some people, and so they're using it as an excuse, and they've overhired during COVID, etc., etc. Does someone else want to? Do you want to contribute?
I saw you.
Have you heard what Uber CEO just said quite recently? So they
run out of tokens or the AI budget.
Right. So they had AI budget and they wasted it in a few months, and that was the full year.
Token maxing.
Slot machine.
Token maxing, fully slot machines, exactly. But then he also said that his senior engineers don't yet see the direct linkage between the spend and the output. So, and that comes back to, does AI really create value, right? So maybe you push more PRs, more volume, more reviews and so on. But I don't think we're there yet where it's causing you to 10x the output of everyone who's using it.
I'm not seeing that either. I'm seeing interesting nuances that, for example, you can obviously create more things more quickly. I'm doing it. Tom and Talbot's we're all doing it. And then you have software developers who often end up just there to clean up the vibe code and stuff. And then it's like, well, those guys won't want to do that for very long because they used to be there as a genuine creative force in the company, and now they're more like a, yeah, that pull request, yeah, okay, maybe just, yeah, that wasn't, yeah, okay, that's not good. So you see that kind of thing, but it's very clear that there are people who are benefiting from the use of AI, yeah, for sure. So you're not seeing Armageddon. Are you seeing Armageddon, or are you seeing?
Not yet. I think there will be changes, but there will be new things that we have never thought of that will happen on the market in terms of new created jobs, in terms of jobs that we don't even have a name for yet.
Yes.
So I think there will be change, and I'll join a bit about that, about like the value. I think it actually depends on the stage of the company and the size. Maybe like if you are a big company or a huge company, you don't necessarily see the value, but in smaller companies just starting up, being able to have a smaller, leaner team with AI is actually, that's what's happening on the market, in my opinion. That you can have less people at the beginning.
Do you think we're going to see a unicorn company with handful of people?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it's doable.
That would be crazy.
I think it's actually doable. And why I think that is that if the company is in the right space, where the invested money is, then it might not necessarily produce value for $1 billion, but it could be valued at $1 billion.
Well,
but I think
it happened already with Instagram 15 years ago. But there's a bit of a, if you get the zeitgeist right, for sure, back in my day, $1 million business was probably hiring 20 people to get there. Now 5 or 6 can get there, with the right kind of use of AI, the right kind of delegation. But it's not just AI, like that. It's not just the AI. SaaS world as well did make things some quicker as well. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think So I think it depends on the stage of the company. If you are a small company starting out, you can have fewer people and actually do an output of more people. And you can be a bit more lean at the beginning, and it actually matters to be lean at the beginning, to have the context in the small team, because everybody then knows what's happening, and you don't need more meetings just to discuss what's happening, because everybody knows. And this is, in my opinion, what AI unlocked, to have leaner teams at the beginning.
Gotcha. As we come towards the end, how much of a bubble are we in, Iskra, right now, in terms of AI and the $3 trillion IPOs that will be coming out soon? And are we in a bubble? How big is it? And is it scary?
Well, it's a huge bubble, but paradoxically, it's as scary that it doesn't scare you anymore, because it's uncontrollable already. So with the wars, social things happening, geopolitical changes, AI, and so on, I think there is lots of uncertainty and fear present. But what I am again missing here in Europe is the courage and the hunger also from VC investors to support such lean business models, as you mentioned, Jan, to feed those entrepreneurs with money and financial resources to be more competitive in comparison to the rest of the world, such as China, emerging markets, and the US. It is scary, but again, I am optimistic, and I think if we all meditate a little bit more on our goals, like individually and our businesses, where we want to go, and if we also create unions to support each other through communities of entrepreneurs, startup founders, VC funds, and investors, I think we can get there, and I'm very optimistic about all the efficiency that AI can bring us in the future.
And Dean, for you, how much of a bubble is it, and when's it going to burst, and what's the reality?
It's I've been actually thinking about this today. I've been trying to compare this to the dot-com bubble, which of course I was quite young back then, but honestly, there is value, right? So, and the companies developing it have something behind. So if you take Google, it's one of the largest companies in the world, and they invest heavily in AI. So it's not like a company just slaps a .com behind and gets like a crazy valuation. There is productivity, but I think it is way overvalued to the what it brings back to the market. And I think this is heavily intentional because the spend on developing those technologies is immense, right? So they have to doomsday it, and they have to say that this is going to replace everyone, and they have to say this is the next big thing. Otherwise, I mean, their VCs would be not happy at all.
Yeah, the companies invested in Anthropic at a $900 billion valuation. It's something extraordinary. If that was 90 billion 15 years ago, it would have been seen as unusual. $900 billion. Anyway, what about you in the bubble? Where are you in the bubble?
I actually agree with you that there's value. There's value with the companies, but in my opinion, I think like the market will clean itself up as always. So it might be a bubble or might not. I'm not saying that there is or there's not, but I think there will be some sort of a cleanup of companies that don't necessarily add value. They might add value at the moment, but might not add like long-term value. So I think it boils down in this era to the value that people are getting out of the companies that use AI, or the companies that use AI. Actually, they do provide some value. And I think it boils down more into value than to usage and to paying for per seats as it was before. Now it's more switched to, okay, what's the value that we are getting out of this? And I think the switch is right. So there will be definitely some sort of cleanup, and I won't be speculating whether it's a bubble or not. But some of the valuations are out of this world.
Yeah, let me be clear. It's a bubble. I'm sorry. Why did I pretend it was a question? It's a bubble, kids. But anyway, let's see if you can make some money. You can make a lot of money in a bubble. Let me be clear on that. To end up, if you don't mind, so I'll kind of go around the table again. What kind of moat can you realistically build now with AI, given that the frontier foundational models are obviously adapting and coming in with technology that was probably, a whole industry space just 6 months before? Like, what moat can you do? And what is it about your taste and your understanding of your business that gives you that chance to actually build something sustainable over the next 5, 10, 15 years?
I think private data, like data that are not public, because companies have loads of data internally that they are not using for anything. And these data sets have not been in the training of the major models. So I think like definitely private data, that is something there's still moat and will be moat. Because if you feed the private data into the frontier model, the model behaves differently. So I think there's definitely a data moat. And I would say that there will be still a people moat, like knowing people, knowing how to talk, the emotional intelligence moat, if I may call it like that. It depends on like where you are in the market, what you are building. Sometimes it's not that important. Sometimes it is highly important, but it's like private data. And for some businesses, the emotional intelligence that comes from humans.
Iskra.
I would say the bridge between artificial and emotional intelligence is the space which we should be interested in. So definitely on the emotional intelligence side, the relationships, negotiation, trust building among people, networking, and so on. So that's the field where I would like to focus the most in the future, creating community of people, as mentioned, mentorship, and also helping people enable for the future, because I feel we will all become enablers in our lives, orchestrators as well of AI tools, AI agents, and different projects. So orchestration, integration, adaptation, those would be the 3 words and action points.
Very cool. Dean.
For me, I do resonate with the private data and private understanding that is not trained by AI. I think for me, it's also about the people's experience, right? And knowledge and all of those decisions that you took in your life, right? Those are not replaced by AI. And this is your knowledge and your skills and your understanding of how you take complex scenario and you turn it into action, right? And AI would do what AI does, which is just generate the next token, right? But it's not going to have all of your knowledge and expertise, right? So this is a space that I believe everyone should go and double down, right? Find this niche that you are great at, and expand your expertise and build this domain knowledge that is only yours and generally not trained by those big AI models.
Great. So we're going to wrap it up here. And I want to say thank you so much for taking your time, valuable time, to come here and talk. We'll put together the best program we can from this. But before you go, I would like, just so I can get better, what are the kind of questions that I could have asked? A question, I'd like each one of you to think of that, where we could have maybe gone a bit deeper onto something or lent into something that would be useful to people who would listen to this podcast who are interested in AI and building. Anyone can go first.
Is this off the
It doesn't. No. It's meant to be. You're meant to feel like it's off camera, but it's not.
Oh, right. So
Sorry, but like I'm just telling you, one of my favorite podcasts of all time. It's on BBC. It's Melvin Bragg. He does history. He's an amazing intellectual. I love him from the old days of the South Bank show. And then they always have 10 minutes of bonus footage at the end. And it's just people. It's just the same bloody podcast, but they're just people talk different at the end. So pretend, Henry, it's off, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes, it's off. Yeah,
sure.
What could we have asked that would have been?
I loved it a lot. It was very, it was interactive and very practical. So I think it's always the best to hear concrete opinions and best practices from the market. So nothing to add. Yes.
I'll be honest. I feel I can be very nice, and I want to get deeper into things, and I want people to disagree with each other, and I just can't necessarily get that because it's just by nature of who I am. But if there was stuff that's said that you could feel we could have gone deeper on a topic, or maybe you don't agree, I'm interested by that. Yeah.
Honestly, I have one. So I think it's about public perception and the fear of AI, right? Which is on everything, like taking your jobs and being fearful to adapt new technologies and so on. So maybe we could have discussed how do we, as builders, as people in this space, share the knowledge and make it feel like a positive technology that people would like to adopt, because we've actually spoke about it, that the people who adopt it the most are the ones that will be more successful. So what kind of education we need to do? How can we change even the curriculum in schools and public, so that the public perception might be more positive? And I'm not talking about people in IT or in our space or white collar jobs, but everyone.
Yeah, I think we have a bias because we're in the like bubble of people using AI every day, and it's like, okay, it's
The 1 or 2%.
It is still the 1 or
yeah,
2%.
still a small percentage of people actually using AI.
There was something I think you mentioned about the European, something I agree with entirely. Like Europe cannot pretend we are not in a global war for talent, and all of these foundational models, with some exceptions, are in America, and that's a strategic advantage for them. That leaves us vulnerable, and we've seen how vulnerable we are with Trump in play. But it's not just Trump; it's a whole way of how North America is shifting in its own development, and that leaves us vulnerable. So the EU AI Act and things around that, if it makes us uncompetitive, then it's a problem. But then, to call ourselves European is a risk, because we're very distinct. You're from Israel, for God's sakes, but wherever you want to see yourself, but we're all in that same part of the world. We must be competitive. We must be able to develop and build, but we also have to remember that we are kind of more conscious around healthcare, people, education. The Danish joke is, we pay 50% in Denmark for tax, but we pay one thing. In America, you keep paying all the time, so the cost is not different. It's just you pay once. In Denmark, so we're that way. And AI is kind of like, we have to keep our Europeanness, but we can't stop innovating, because we could create so much value.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, ignoring the fear while being comfortable here in Europe is definitely not the right path to take. So there is one good book. It's called AI for Good. So it tells about the social impact of AI in case of earthquakes, floods, hurricanes, how it can actually deliver faster aid and those kinds of concrete measurable things. So that's on the high level. That's if we are very, very romanticizing the AI story, those are the best practices. But behind the fear, there is opportunity again for growth, for change, and for shift. And that's why I wanted to mention the unity and the importance of us sticking together here in Europe, because just ignoring it from our own homes or like mini bubbles will not put us in a good shape. So that's what I see. So
it's an argument for the European Union, actually, in its own a good functioning European Union. Guys, thank you so much. That is the end. Okay, that is.
Thanks.